Hello, everybody, and welcome, where my name is Ketchup, and I'm joined by the always wonderful Flea, and this is, would you believe it, week number 9 of Stage 4 of the Quake Pro League. So it's been quite a fast stage. I think quite a few people will agree. I'm sure you would as well, Flea, but we've got some good games lined up, and quite a few to look forward to.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, time flies when you're having fun, right? It's hard to believe we're already this close to the end of the 4th stage. And as you said, plenty of good games still ahead of us today. I think the personal highlights for me are something that many people are going to be shared. It's also available on the Twitter. We're starting off with toxjq versus Avec. This is going to be our first match of the day. It's immediately going to be one hell of a banger as well. Later on today, we're going to see some more highlights featuring the Maestro boys, Wenger going head-to-head with his teammate Razy. And then we've also got, of course, Kilson taking on base and some good NA action to top off the day with Chain versus Saigib.
So at this point, we may as well take a look at the schedule of the day, right? So our first matchup is going to be Tox versus Avec. I know quite a few people in chat were already talking about that before the show went live. Shouts to you guys. Up next will then be Genic versus Dewey. Then it's Dramis and Nosfer. And then Cooler versus CNZ for kind of the first half of the day. Quite an important matchup for CNZ, and we'll explain why a little bit later. Now, as we go into the second half of the day, Zeniku versus Dahang, another important matchup for Zeniku. Razy and Wenger, the Maestro matchup, as you quite rightly pointed out. Base versus Kilson, which has all means, I think, to be maybe our absolute most competitive match of the day. And then the final game, Chain and Saigib, two players that are definitely on the higher end of the Americas going head-to-head, and we'll see who's going to get the win there. Should be a good day.
Oh, it should be a very good day. And also, since we're getting this close to the end of the stage, we're really starting to determine the players that will have to play relegation. Yep. So there's a few players. There's still a little bit of room for movement, right? We can still have some players escape the bottom 2 of their respective side of the world, their own leaderboards, EU or NA, and get themselves safe from relegation. I think at this point, Spardy is the only one who is guaranteed to play a relegation match in the Stage 4 finals. But aside from that, if they perform accordingly, there is still plenty of room for people to escape, but of course, provided that they do extremely well today and next week.
And we know who the challenger players will be too at this stage. We had those matchups yesterday, so now we know who the competition will be as we go into the Stage 4 finals, and we will touch on that a little bit later on. But for now, we have our first matchup, toxjq and Avec. Now, there are definitely two different players here that they can be quite aggressive. Definitely Avec, known for the Avec aggression. We say it time and time again, and we'll continue to say it. But, I mean, according to the people, I'm seeing a lot more people say that they favor Avec in this matchup.
Yeah, and I think that a lot of that just has to do with how the last few weeks has gone by. We're kind of really looking at a matchup between one player who's seemingly on the rise, whereas another is really struggling. If we look at toxjq's performance the previous few weeks, I don't think he's taken a map in several weeks now and has lost numerous 3-0 games in a row. Of course, these games were against some of the best players in the world, but still, it's clear that toxjq is struggling and kind of trending downwards, whereas on the other hand, Avec is just reaching new heights. He has beaten in the past few weeks alone Wenger and then also Cooler just last week in a tremendous 3-0 victory over Cooler, the king, the man who was one of our previous champions who got to put his name on the belt. So Avec clearly doing well. Historically speaking, it's typically toxjq who comes out on top when they face off, but given how both of these players have been playing in the past few weeks, I think a lot of people will indeed be favoring the Polish Prince.
I think you quite rightly pointed out the fact that, even if Tox has been really good in the past here, we just have to go by recent results, because that's where the grind is taking place, and that's where, whether it's the matches that the players might play privately with each other, the scrims, the tournament footage, all that stuff. When it's as recent as it has been for Avec, it's very hard to kind of count him out as, I think, the favorite for this one. I'd love to see a 2-1 at the very least, but, I mean, in Avec's position, a 3-0, which he could absolutely obtain today, is going to be the best case scenario for him, because, he's not as high up as Tox, or he's around there, the same part of leaderboard, very similar, but it's a result that I think he would happily take, for sure.
Oh, absolutely. And Avec has really been doing very well. It isn't too long ago that we were discussing Ketchup. I still remember us sitting side by side in the studio going, Avec has a real shot of actually having to fight in relegation by the end of one of the previous stages. And look at him now. He's actually overtaken Tox, the Terminator, one of the biggest names in all of Quake. So the man currently ranked 11 globally. So Avec definitely has pushed himself out of that danger zone and is really thriving.
Yeah, I totally looked at the... I've got the schedule on the right-hand side, and I totally had the numbers swapped around. They're so close. But yeah, so Avec, that's basically what we talked about. Now, if we're talking about the picks and bans, we have Corrupted Keep, Blood Covenant, and then Awoken. That's going to be the map picks for them. The Ison versus the BJ, the Doomslayer versus the Athena, which is going to be interesting to see. Always a treat on that map. And then Sorlag versus Strog. So, I mean, if we're looking at these picks and these matchups, nothing really taking us by surprise. I mean, the big thing about Tox is the only movement-based champion he's really gone in for is the Sorlag on the Awoken. I know that Blood Covenant Doom does have the use of the double jump, so mobility, it's not about speed, it's about being able to just go from point A to point B on that high ground, you know, the classic stuff, I guess. But nothing really too much of a curveball, I don't think.
Yeah, indeed, pretty standard picks. Starting off with Corrupted Keep, we've got, of course, the BJ, very, very popular champion on that map. You don't have a railgun to work with, so that allows him to really shine with that dual wield ability of his. On the other hand, of course, the Ison can put down that deployable turret, very good to get information on where your opponent's at, and also do a bit of area control and zoning out, because Corrupted Keep is one of the smaller maps in the game, and it's also one of the easiest ones to actually deny weapons to your opponent. So by using the turret strategically, you can really kind of close out part of the map and force your opponent to be distracted when he tries to go up against two sources that do damage. So very meta picks. Same goes for Blood Covenant. As you mentioned yourself, Athena, always a joy to watch. One of the most mobile champions in the entire game. Going up against the Doomslayer, Blood Covenant is a map that lends itself very well for such a matchup. Speed and mobility on both sides. And then the last one, at long last, we're seeing a bit more of that ground control. You know, you've got the air control coming out of Toxic with the Sorlag up against the sliding, the crouch sliding from the Strog. So this will have quite a bit of explosive action as well on, again, a relatively small map. So indeed, nothing too surprising when it comes to the picks and the bans.
Now, I mean, game style wise, I am nervous for Tox here, mostly because if Avec's able to play as well as he has been in the recent weeks, I can almost picture a series of maps where Tox is completely unable to really get a footing, because the reality is when Tox isn't playing at 100% or he seemingly struggles, but at least he's hitting some shots, it's kind of like sometimes the aim that he has, and I guess the execution in general, is able to help to a small degree. But the second he fights against someone who's able to more than match his aim, which, I mean, obviously not easy to do because he's got one of the absolute best aims on the planet, free. If a player can match him and then they're playing just better than he is on almost every level, he almost just doesn't exist on these maps. He gets just bullied around. He's even rarely sometimes able to get items. And with someone like Avec, that's kind of a matchup I can really picture right now. As the biased Tox fan that I am, I hope that doesn't happen. But I do think that Avec he's going into this with the advantage, I think, and we'll see if he can pull it off.
Yeah, I share your concerns. I think one of the biggest things that we've been talking about a lot when it comes to Tox is that he kind of gets carried away and loses a lot of that consistency that he often lacks. He very often, once he is in a bad position, will just push and push aggressively trying to get frags. But if that doesn't work out, you just end up giving your opponent such a lead that makes it very difficult to come back from. So Toxic sometimes kind of gets carried away with the momentum that he tries to achieve when he starts to mount the comeback. And when you go up against someone like Avec, another very aggressive player known for his tremendous damage output, I really do see where you're coming from, and I feel like Toxic might just get carried away a bit too much in these situations, and if he keeps pushing and pushing and pushing against the Avec wall to get himself a frag on the board, I think he will just start growing that deficit of frags.
Well, it looks like the warm-up is coming to a close. It's going to be Avec and Toxic for our first matchup of the day here, Week 9 Quake Pro League. We're going to get this show on the road, and Tox with Avec on the Corrupted Keep. Looks like the fight towards LG is already going to take place. It is Tox that's able to kind of get the weapon first, but lacking armor. He has to be very, very careful. Sitting pretty near the turret just a little bit, but Avec using the dual wield to just force his way out and get back to a safer distance. And good thing for Avec, I mean, he's in that kind of pickup room, right? There's plenty of little lights to pick up. And let's not forget that BJ on this map can be really efficient because on top of the lights, you've got that passive that regenerates some of his health as well.
Yeah, that was a clever first engagement from Toxic because he knew that he was the only one with the heavy machine gun, which is the go-to long-distance weapon on this map. Avec, though, quicker on the recovery, getting himself the heavy, immediately punishing Tox off the spawn. This will be another frag for the Polish Prince. And this is something that Corrupted Keep is known for. It's a map where once you get a few frags, you can easily snowball it into a sizable lead. So Toxic has to put an end to that now. Avec doesn't want to give up his position just yet. Does a lot of damage. Both players pretty low. Shotgun, can he clutch it out? It will indeed be Toxic landing the final few bullets that he needs. We're already seeing 3 frags in just barely over a minute.
That's the Corrupted Keep effect, I think. It's such a combat-heavy map. The emphasis on being able to just make sure you can try and snowball in any given opportunity, but at the same time, you've got to be so careful with your own stack. Yes, there's tons of ways to get it back up, but if you take too much damage, you have to be pretty careful when the opponent spawns. Floor is lava in chat. Avic's going to go down. Tox is going to make things 2-2. And it's like you said, right? We're not even 2 minutes in, and we've already had a complete back and forth of these frags, trying to push forward towards the Mega. Mega is going to get taken. Tox, how much damage is he going to be able to do? Actually forcing Avec away. Avec just being able to collect a little bit of armor there. Tox still alive, barely. Has to be very careful at this stage.
And Avec, right now, doing a decent amount of damage. Neither player really setting apart the items or getting a good rotation going. Avec, the dual wield, coming clutch once again. Like this play from Avec too, not immediately going for the item, but instead trying to pepper a bit of damage onto Toxic first. Unfortunately for him, Mega is still up for the taking. Toxic has been delaying it all this time, will finally pick it up. And for the first time this map, we actually have somewhat of a sizable delay between Mega and Heavy. This is something you very often see on Corrupted Keep. Towards the start of the map, it's just an open brawl up until these kinds of delays start mounting and you see one player really get into control.
Now, Tox being knocked away again. You have to be so mindful with a map as, I think, real heavy machine gun heavy as this is. You've got to make sure your armor's topped up. You really can't afford to just get shredded down if they're playing that ranged game. Sounds like a turret's going to get dropped down here with Avec. Here's the Mega get taken, and that's going to immediately proc the dual wield. And if he was going to push forward, we had to make sure there was plenty of damage to try and fight back. But Tox actually sitting pretty, waiting out the dual wield, and now he's going to be a little bit safer to play this long-range game, so he can safely push away, of which he's going to do. But he gets a good call, a really good call on the jump down. Has to be careful for these defensive rockets. Avec only has 1 rocket left, actually.
Avec definitely has to switch onto the defensive right now. Toxic is the one who has secured 3 of the final major items, swooping in to pick up another Mega, which means that Avec is 2 rotations dry of any major boost towards his health or his armor, and he has to make do with the small pickups around the map. Definitely playing a little bit more carefully right now, caught out with the wrong weapon. Has to switch to the LG at the last possible seconds. Got the height advantage, but Toxic landing some excellent rockets. Is either player going to commit? It will be Avec as Toxic creeps its way out of the room, actually stuck in a really bad position, and Avec knows this. He will clean up his opponent. Perfect textbook out of control play from the pole right there.
Still has to be very, very careful. It may just be a nail gun, but it's going to do that much, a ton of damage with Avec, as weak as he was. But, I mean, I guess victories, he was still able to get Tox incredibly weak, and actually at this point, get a really good call out on where he's going to retreat to. He's going to pick up a little bit of health. There's still no armor. That's why we're sitting around near Heavy to try and get it. He's going to push in Avec. Very aggressive, and he has been able to deny this Heavy. The question is, can he escape with his life? Ooh, Tribo almost said no, but Tox still left with no resources. Avec in and out. He's taken the objective. That's what he wants. He wants the armor. And now Tox continuing to lick his wounds, but the defensive nails running right into it. Tox is able to stabilize a little bit. How about that?
That was a bit too aggressive of a play from Avec. Definitely overextended when he could have fallen back on the Mega instead, but he was hungry for the damage, knew that Toxic was kind of stuck behind that corner, and he wanted to punish that missed position a bit more, but he wasn't counting on the Toxic rockets finding their mark so perfectly. Still Avec, 1 frag in the lead, but he's missing that heavy machine gun, and that is a weapon he desperately wants. I like the sneaky play right here, looping around Toxic, getting himself onto the Mega. Can he survive just long enough? He will. Pushes the Swedish Terminator out of the room. And Avec has a good opportunity to get himself solid control of both the items right here.
Especially from this situation, Tox incredibly weak. Avec is pushing in. Any damage that Tox does at this point is going to be just bonus damage. You know, with Avec being all over him like that, you are going to go down. You weren't going to escape. And now Tox really absolutely gets some delicious machine gun damage. It's not going to be enough, as Avec is still going to be able to take this one forward and continue his lead. Oh, that rocket hurts. 100, just like that.
Yeah, Avec left on 2 points of health, but still in the game, punishing Toxic hard, but you gotta be careful. Tribolt coming out strong. A full Tribolt blast at maximum damage deals more damage than a direct rocket to the face. You can't ever forget that. And Toxic making a stand right there. Slowly starting to close the gap. 4 minutes left for just 2 frags, perfectly possible, especially on a map like Corrupted Keep. But he's gotta play it a bit careful, because he knows that he is outstacked right now.
Here comes the push again. Maybe Tox an opportunity to maybe use that distraction of the turret, but maybe at this point might just delay the inevitable, because Avic's going to push. Here come the rockets. No! Caught swapping weapons. Avic's going to get him again.
Solid play from Avec right there. Big part, or the big deciding factor right there, was that Tox didn't have the lightning gun, and that is of course the key mid-range weapon. If you don't have it, you can't take these kinds of engagements, and Avec knew he played it from a medium distance to begin with, did so much damage, and then just pushed in for the kill shot. Avec now extending his lead. Toxic, though, going really aggressive. Will actually find the frag there as well. Toxic. It's a pendulum. Ketchup is just going back and forth.
He's always making sure to exist around these important items too. You know, he's kind of not really allowing Avec to simply get a frag, get these items, you know, run and get this large amount of control and, you know, start to outstack and all this classic stuff that normally someone would set themselves up for to get a whole bunch of frags back to back in this map. Tox is always around. You know, he's always around to be annoying or get this damage or get a push like he did in the previous frag, but now Avec looking to back off just a little bit. So many ways to get your stack back up on this map. But what does he do in this situation? Avec tries to push forward, actually. Oh, that Tribolt. Who's going to get the final hit? Avec. He's going to heal up. Tox has to be very, very careful here. The Mega in play. Can he get it? No, he can't. Not quite. Avec does beat him to the punch.
That's a shame for Tox. He actually had the time to get on there first, but he miscalculated how far Avec was and just slowed himself down with that spam of the rockets. If he had just gone for it, he would have made it onto the Mega first, but didn't quite manage to pull that off. Out comes that new shoddy skin, looking beautiful, but it won't be enough. This is about more than just looks, as Avec is extending his lead ever further. And 1 minute 30 left on the clock. This is looking dire for Toxic as he goes down once more. And now Avec a solid 5-point lead.
It's always a little bit insane how you actually look at the damage being dished out. The Tox here, it's 5 versus 10, whereas Tox has done about 600 more damage at this point. He's technically been out-damaging Avec, but yeah, as you can clearly see here, not really mattering much here at all. And even when it comes to control, actual like owning the items, there have been definitely more megas going into the favor of Avec, but the heavies have been pretty evenly split.
Avec has just been making the most of the positioning. Really, usually when it's Avec securing a frag, he's got something to fall back on instead, and he can manifest himself on the map and avoid Tox even if he is playing on the back foot and is the weaker one in those situations. And that is something that Tox has not been able to replicate. And even when you do more damage, and even when you do manage to pick up a similar amount of items, still, doing it at the wrong time won't get you very far, and this is just a perfect map to illustrate that.
And from this point, Avic's just going to play that runaway game. And you know, the map's already done for sure, but let's just prevent giving up any bonus frags for Toxic here. Just continue to cycle the map, let him chase. Really nothing he can do at this point. Oh, some nice little bonus damage at the end. But 7 seconds on the clock, the map is done and dusted. One more frag for good measure, and that's going to be Avec taking map number 1 here. So already in a good spot. Couple more of those and he'll be laughing, I think.
Absolutely. We said it at the start, right? Avec has just been looking so solid in the past few weeks, taking down Cooler 3-0 just last week and then beating Wenger the week before. So the man is clearly on a rise, performing extremely well, whereas Toxic just has really been struggling. And I think we can really see Avec carry that momentum through in this first map as well.
I think this is the best time for a player in this kind of situation to really be on the rise too, because we're so close to the stage 4 finals. And, we're now dawning on these final weeks. This isn't the final week. This is still week 9. But from this situation, I mean, we're going into those final moments. Avec is looking arguably now better than he's ever looked in Quake Pro League all year round. And now we're right about to enter the big finish, that big finale. So Avic's going into this one as a bit of a sleeper hit. And now people are like, well, look, Avec has always been a god for a reason. And now as we go into the stage 4 finals, if he's on this form, then who knows how far he can take it. And this is just one map. We've got 2 more maps to get through, but he's just looking incredibly strong.
I mean, we do always say, right, Corrupted Keep, it's his own thing. It can really go either way with just how easy it can snowball out of control, so you pay too much attention to the scoreline on Corrupted Keep when estimating how the next few maps are going to go down. But I fully agree with what you said. Avec is looking absolutely spectacular. We all know it, right? The weeklies, they're important. They determine your position on the leaderboards. They can determine the seeding going into the finals. But really, the finals is where people play for keeps. It is where you play people from the other region as well. So that is what really matters. So if you're kind of delivering a middling performance at the start of an online stage, okay, that sucks. But if you can then turn it back around and put out your best games towards the end, as Avec is clearly doing now, that is very promising.
Well, I remember when there was that point where Avec was in danger of relegation, and we're sitting here and we're like, it's weird to say that. It was almost like a Cypher effect, where talking about Avec being unsuccessful sounds very strange. You know what I mean? So,
of course.
And this is why when you see Avec struggling, it's because when Avec is playing the way that he's famous for, he plays this well. But now we're going into Blood Covenant, so we're loading into our next map. Should be about a minute or so when the warm-up's done, and we'll be good to go. Matchup-wise, Doomslayer versus the Athena. It's going to be Tox rocking the Doom, and the Athena is going to be going on to the hand of Avec. Athena, absolutely one of the best champions in the game on this map, because it's almost complete unmatched verticality on tab. She's going to have that speed. She's going to have the ability to go where she wants, when she wants. But that is no longer limited to like how low you are down on the map either. There are some champions that they can go all over the place, but the second they're at the bottom of, lower banana and they want to get near rail and they can't, use whatever they might have available. I think they can just go and then grappling hook and that's it, right? I mean, and there are so many little things that make it so effective, and just like that, we're into our next map.
Also interesting when you look at the abilities that both of these champions have, right? The Doomslayer is a champion that very rarely uses his active, the Berserk mode, because it exposes you to so much risk, which means that there's going to be a lot of hourglasses for Avec to pick up, and he can basically be swinging around the map non-stop, is what I am predicting for this matchup. As we are seeing first few seconds transpire, no engagements just yet. Avec picking up the Mega, Toxic the Heavy. Classic opener right there. No shots fired on the opposing player. I don't think anyone really knows where the other is at. Both eyes are on the Heavy though, and Toxic will land the first rail of map 2.
Now, as we enter a rail-heavy map, we'll see if this is potentially one of the things that allows Tox to come online. If he's able to play accuracy-wise the way that he has become world famous for, then this one rail alone might really give him a great service. Looks like so far he's hit 4 out of 5 rails, and we've only just started this map. Avec is in big trouble, and he goes in. He pushes in. 5 rails out of 6 that Tox has fired has been on the money. And this is Athena too. She is not easy to hit. Another rail, Tox. What is going on here?
Really good decision from Tox to leave up the Heavy as well. Avec had no clue that his opponent hadn't picked up the armor yet, as he is just chasing the Athena around the map. Look at that, sneakily going up the bounce pad, falling straight back down, hoping to catch his opponent off guard. Toxic is just throwing out so many jukes right now, going up, right back down, turn to the left, sweep to the right, just to keep Avec clueless of where he's actually going. And it's only a matter of time before he catches the Athena out once more. Now Avec does manage to swoop in, steal away the Mega, takes a bit of heavy machine gun damage for his trouble, but still looking pretty healthy. He wants some more armor though, especially as one of the light, squishy champions. You are so reliant on that armor stack.
And near Banana, I mean, Avec was able to use that Athena mobility to get away in a situation that a lot of champions would have been pretty much unable to survive. You know, there's no way you can really escape without taking some kind of free damage, and Avec, quite rightly, using that grappling hook to just say, you know what, mate, I'm out. See you later. And he's been able to stabilize. Look at the stack. He can certainly fight. And although, you know, we've been complimenting the insanely good rail accuracy of Tox so far, yeah, that's a mistake. A lot of self-damage that he probably doesn't want to take. But my point is that he has to make sure he's hitting these rails constantly, and it's not easy. It's a very difficult thing to constantly rail an Athena who's going as fast as Avec is. Gets one rail, and can he keep it up for 10 minutes? That's what I question.
toxjq right now is hitting 80% railgun accuracy. 700 out of its 1000 damage is with the railgun. Make that 81% railgun accuracy so far. Now, toxjq again cleaning up Avec. Avec immediately picking up the rail. That's a good opener. 1, 2. Pushing in aggressively. toxjq really low. Avec knows one more rail will finish off the Doomslayer. So he's just trying to lock down that exit. He knows that toxjq wants that health bubble at the bottom of the teleporter because he is weak.
This is Doomslayer we're talking about, the man that's too angry to die. And he's going to be able to get that stack back up more than happily, and he's setting up for these rail shots. Both players unable to hit their mark just yet. Tox looking to get out and try and take some bonus damage. Maybe there's no lights to take. Avec chooses to push. Can he chase it? Looking to maybe cut him off. Avec, nice repositioning. Set up that angle. By all means, this should be a fight. The Berserk. Wait, he's actually looking to fight. Okay, that's... I thought he was going to try and maybe escape with that Berserk. But he's like, nope, let's just throw down. And he eats an SSG for his trouble.
He knew that he was done for. Best thing you can do in that situation is just try to get that damage out with at least one punch and then just reset for the next item. So toxjq, he figured that he was done and dusted for in that situation. Now he gets to spawn still with a 1-point lead and with a much better stack to work with than potentially having to hide away from his opponent for so long. Avec overextending right there. Perhaps overestimating his capabilities, or rather underestimating toxjq, his stack and LG in that situation, because he gets pushed back real quick, and it will be toxjq, the Swedish Terminator, picking up heavy.
I think using the Berserk before death's not a bad idea either, because it means that on spawn you can soak up some of those hourglasses that Athena might want. So just being able to respawn and deny some of those important resources. Nice little rail shot there from Avec, who's able to hit 2 in a row, looking like he might be able to get a third at this point. Misses the money shot, but Tox not out of the woods yet. Uh-oh. That was either a fake rocket jump or it looked like a little bit on the silhouette. Maybe he hit his head on the ceiling. But
I think
either
so.
way.
I don't think it was a fakie. I think he generally messed up trying to get away from Avec up to that little banana area of the map. toxjq, once again, using the Berserk, of course, gives you your max movement speed instantly. Avec, though, heavy aggression on the push right there. I like toxjq's decision. That could have very easily gone in his favor. And now Avec, he has to get out of there. He's got next to nothing to work with. Luckily for him, landing that direct rocket's gonna buy him some breathing room as he races back towards Heavy, and he will recover. Avec probably would have died right there if he hadn't landed that rocket.
No, he does need to get himself some rails. And wait a minute, Tox, peppering out some rockets. Already ready for it, but the question is, yeah, Tox was looking to get a rail for himself, and now it's been taken away. So taking this Mega, it's going to be very, very difficult. He's only got a starting machine gun. It's the only thing he has, and forced to jump down and concede the Mega. This is a very risky jump pad. Gets hit by the rail. Very, very easy shot there for Avec. And the question is, can he get the weapon that he's after? Not having a heavy machine gun, not having a rail. I mean, he's going to get bullied until he can pick up one of them.
Avec leaving up the heavy, reads toxjq perfectly. That was a beautiful play from the Prince. He's still leaving up the major item, wants to do even more damage and seek Tox out of the spawn. He was looking up towards the bounce pad, hoping that his opponent made the mistake of going up towards Mega already. Now toxjq will once again secure the Mega health, but he is not going to get away unharmed. Murderous heavy machine gun, but toxjq with the better stack, actually punishing Avec tremendously, dropping down at just the right time with the lightning gun, tying things right back up. I feel like Avec perhaps should be paying his opponent a bit more respect, because we've seen several situations where Avec does extremely well, but then he pushes in a bit too far and takes so much damage that he surrenders a good position.
Kind of like this.
Yeah, kind of like that, exactly.
Kind of like this exact situation.
He could have easily gotten the Mega, but instead he tried to damage Tox a bit too much, and now he lost out on that item, probably if he hadn't missed or landed that rail, rather.
But on the back of that, that is the thing, that he goes in for these big plays, but Avec always has a plan B. So in these kind of situations, he did push a little bit too hard, arguably, for sure. And then at least he's able to go, right, well, this didn't work out. I can simply just reposition and still get this rail. If I hit this rail, it can buy me time to go and take this item anyway. So it's kind of like, you know, there's in these situations, not as much of an all-in as you might expect. And Avec now making it 4-3, hitting another fantastic rail shot. And Tox, I mean, he's only just spawned. He has nothing to fight back. He can't challenge that. And Avec, perfect position, and he gets another frag here for Tox. Starting to fall apart. Perfect rail on spawn as well. Looking for a second. Going in for the machine gun because no need to overcomplicate. Tox doesn't have the tools to get the job done. And again, right before the major items, it's Shades of Corrupted Keep, where every time Avic's getting a frag, it's near something really vital, like an important item, something that can keep the momentum going. For Tox, it's just not really proving to be the same situation.
Good decision for Avec to back off right there, knowing, of course, that he has a 3-point lead going into the final 2 minutes. He didn't have to peek there once again, and he is just going to vacate the area, avoid any more damage. He knows that Toxic right now has full control, but he's also very well aware that he is the single most mobile champion in the entire game. Can the hooks save him now? No, they cannot. Ooh. Toxic, that was a clutch rail. He needed to hit that. If Toxic would have missed that shot, it would have been GG, because Avec would have stolen heavy, gone out of the room, and Toxic would have just spent the last minute and 30 seconds trailing. Toxic still has an opportunity.
Now, if he's able to keep, after this frag anyway, if he can pick it up, which he's likely to do at this point, Avic's trying to reposition. Can he restack? If Tox can keep Avec away from those ranged weapons fresh off spawn, he can continue to get that insane sequence of damage that he got at the very start of the map. Avec, he's restacked a little bit, but just look at the movement. Hits another clutch rail. Can he chase it? Avec, I mean, any seconds here is seconds that he needs to waste for Tox. Even now in this one fight, he needs to get away, use that mobility over. Misses the rail shot. That's unfortunate, because now it's more time Tox has to spend chasing him down. Time that he doesn't have anymore.
Very clever evasive plays from Avec right there. The Polish prince hanging on, clutching to that 2-point lead that he has, making some excellent decisions to avoid the Terminator. We're running out of time, Ketchup. Toxic, he needs to make something happen right now. He needs to catch Avec right here and then get a good frag off the spawn.
Now, this is where the mobility hits its next gear. The ability to say, I have the lead, and now I'm going to play this runaway game, and you do not have the means to catch me. And with the pathing that Avec is taking, so many potential ways that Tox could come from, that means that when he wants to escape, Tox, I mean, he has to get lucky. There really is no other way to describe it. Tox had to rely on just getting lucky that one time, and just so happened to go right where Avec was running away, and Avec made himself impossible to catch. That was a well-played map for sure. Very
much so. Avec made some really clever plays. I especially liked very much towards the end when Toxic caught out Avec towards the railgun, and Avec faked it out towards the small armor and then just hooked right back down towards the small armor and the LG. Beautiful play. Toxic completely misguided right there, and it allowed Avec to get away with just a sliver of health remaining and avoid his opponent for the rest of the map. Toxic, yeah, your prediction from the beginning came to be. He landed some impressive rails towards the beginning. I think he hit 10 out of 12 rails at a certain point, but then afterwards, that is such a difficult pace to just stick with the entirety of the game. We saw a bit of a return to that form towards the end, but by then, Avec just used it to such a great merit. He just couldn't do the consistent damage he needed.
So we're going into our final map now. Awoken, the Sorlag versus the Strog and Pika matchup, a situation that I think is going to favor Avec again. We are going to have that, that classic element of the large champions and that heavy stack to work with fresh off spawn, the classic stuff on a smaller map that can let you be a bit more aggressive than you would be with other champions. But with how Avec has been playing everything else, I favor the 3-0 here. I think it's very hard to see any other outcome. But if Tox can get a really good start and get that early level of control and make it difficult for Avec to really, I think, compete with the damage that you can put out, then I guess maybe Tox's best bet is to try and just be a little bit more assertive, I guess. But it's going to be easier said than done with the way Avec has been just bullying him. Because when he gets a frag, it means a lot more than when Tox has got a frag. And Awoken, I think, can be a map where that can really happen again.
Yeah, that might indeed be the case. Little bit of confusion in the party chat before we're jumping into the final map, so bear with us for just a moment as we load things up. But as you said, this could very well be a 3-0 win for the one and only Avec if he continues that momentum. toxjq will need to hit back hard. He will need to maintain the pace that we saw towards the beginning of the previous map on Blood Covenant and run it all the way through. This is going to be a difficult one, though, because Strogg has a lot of explosive mobility, much more so than Sword. Around the map, like it's no one. But when it comes to Strogg, he can just get such a boost of acceleration, basically standing still in that same spot and just skate away from harm. And so we might be looking at something similar as we saw previously. On that note, though, we are loading into the map and we are kicking things off. This is the final map of this series, 2-0 for Avec, as we're kicking things off with Awoken.
Well, I mean, I think Avec thought that... I think it seems like Avec might have thought that the final map was Ruins. So there is the small % chance that this potential last minute map change for Avec might be a bit of a curveball. I mean, that might be stretching a little bit, but we'll see. We'll see. Tox is going to get that first frag. And I mean, yeah, the question is, what can he mount from this? Avec is going to push in almost immediately. He knows how much damage he's done here.
Absolutely.
Especially with LG spawn.
Oof, that was a very delayed rocket hit right there. Avec must have dodged right back into that one. toxjq's rockets are looking on point. He doesn't have a railgun yet, and I think Avec tried to take advantage of that because Peeker, one of the best ways to take down the little robot is, of course, just landing one quick, clean rail shot. toxjq still doesn't have that weapon in his arsenal, still struggling to get a hold of that.
And he's trying to get it, I think, as safely as possible. No self-damage, no giveaways. Because, the second you give away your position to get the rail, you can't really get those rail shots, because now they know you've got it, and they're going to, start to be a lot more patient or careful. Whereas in this situation, at the very least, he's been able to get a rail. And he can play careful. He hasn't taken any damage in this fight. He outstacks Avec significantly when we're talking about armor alone. And now just sitting there listening out to where Avec is. He springs the trap, and he gets a rail on top. Really nice sequence of damage, and he's able to get more rails. Misses the third shot, and unfortunately the Peeker hits him. So now going for this Mega is going to be pretty risky. Is he going to go for it? Tries to shut him down and stop him. Hits another rail, but with all the damage that he's landing, Avec, he's on top of the items. He's able to tank it time and time again, and just like that, although Tox has hit some fantastic shots, Avec is the one that comes off better in this exchange.
toxjq indeed, definitely on the back foot. He is one frag in the lead, but he's starving for resources right now. Avec trying to chase him down. Nice little rail. Tox left on just 2 points of health after that one. Avec misses the kill shot. That would have been such a beautiful rail, but I don't see any way for Tox to escape this one. Best thing you can do is just hold your ground, land a big rocket, and that's exactly what the Terminator did right there. Aggressive plays. Avec, he needs to pick up a bubble. I'm surprised toxjq didn't pressure that one harder. I know he only has the starting machine gun, but after doing so much damage to Avec and landing that amount of spit, I think he had an opportunity to punish even more right there.
Another fight's going to break out towards Heavy. Looks like Tox is getting some absolutely fantastic LG damage, but that one rocket that just got rid of all of the armor set up for the final shot. And big emphasis on the super shotgun. When you're against these large champions, they are a little bit more prone to taking, I guess the max damage threshold from super shotgun. They're just larger, more pellets will connect. And Tox is going to get another one. Wait a minute, bringing himself back in. I think the stack alone really lets him just bully his way off spawn. If he gets one good weapon, some free damage. Avec hasn't got much to work with. He only has a super shotgun, yet that somehow is enough to get the job done.
I mean, it's what you said, right? Bigger targets means a lot more of those pellets are going to be hitting, so even from a distance like that, you can take down someone like Sorlek with relative ease. toxjq now standing his ground. One rail will kill either of these players at this point. Avec will be the first one to get stacked back up. toxjq has a better position for heavy, but he just doesn't have the stack to defend it. I don't think he's out of position. Avec smells blood. toxjq shouldn't have been there. And Avec is even gonna leave heavy up a little bit, going for an aggressive rocket jumping stat, trying to catch toxjq off the spawn, who now has the high ground. Good positioning from toxjq right there. LG on top of the bounce pad. He knows Avec isn't gonna go for that. LG on LG, shaft versus shaft, and Avec with the sneaky switch to the shotgun will clean it up once again.
That shotgun is proving to be quite the miracle weapon for Avec so far. Just knowing that I can just get that crazy good damage on deck. He's taken a bunch of his own though. I think best case scenario would have been able to hit that last minute rocket, but caught the map just a little bit. But as we hear, the heavy's been taken. Tox, if anything, is going to have timing on that now, but yeah, he's outstacked again significantly, and here comes Avec. Potentially on a bit of a warpath, looking to get another frag, and he sets up with a beautiful 100 damage rocket. That's going to take out Tox, making it 2 frags in the lead for Avec. We've just hit the halfway mark of this final map, and at this rate, a 3-0 is more than likely, Flea.
Absolutely true. toxjq, is he going to forfeit the heavy? Not at all. This was a misplay. This is the very thing I warned of when we started this series. toxjq just getting too carried away when trying to force a comeback into fruition. He only had rockets and machine gun in that situation, Ketchup. You can't go for those fights. It's very difficult to hit rockets at that distance, especially on Awoken, where you've got the water that complicates everything. And then when you can't do the damage at long range, the only thing you can switch back to is that standard machine gun, which is going to be pulverized by Avic's LG. Beautiful rocket to finish it as well, but toxjq, I'm seeing too much unmitigated aggression coming out of him.
And all it's doing at this stage is creating that divide even larger between the two players and their score counts. Tox has no armor. This super shotgun's going to be the worst enemy if you're a large target with no armor. Another opening rail just to keep toxjq behind. Gets a nice little call out though on the teleporter. Okay, that's good. I mean, let's not forget, this is Awoken. This is a smaller map. If Tox is able to get that one string of frags, kind of like maybe right now, there is a chance to bring it back. It's definitely, I think, the seesaw effect of when Tox plays like this, because if it doesn't work, I mean, he goes down catastrophically when it comes to like score count. But when he gets that one frag that just strings to a snowball effect, he can make these comebacks. He just goes so all or nothing every time.
Yeah, and that is one of his biggest strengths, but also such a major weakness when you're up against some of the best players in the world. That spit will connect, but Avec quickly picking up a health bubble. Both players so weak. toxjq, you can't peek again. He's just gonna go for Mega. Oof, almost messing up.
I'm actually
jump.
surprised Avec wasn't there as well.
Yeah.
I was almost half expecting Avec to wait for the Mega.
You just clench when those fights come up, don't you? Because you're feeling the bullets in the back. toxjq, can he land this shot? He has to, and he finds it. Beautiful play from the Swede. Ketchup, we've still got a match on our hands.
Oh, super shotgun, no! Oh, he got the super shotgun spawn. The second, I mean, they didn't even have to fire a single shot for us to know how that one was going to go. Tox just didn't have the stack, Flea. He didn't have the stack, and Avec is at the super shotgun spawn. That rocket, I'd love to have seen if that was a ring out, I will be honest.
Avec, yeah, pushing in because he knows he needs that health bubble. Otherwise, the spit will just demolish him over time. Luckily for him, toxjq didn't have an LG in that situation. Rail will work just fine in a pinch, though. Reading the spawn perfectly, 2 for 2. Avec dropping down. Look at this toxjq holding all the way back, trying to once again force out a favorable spawn. Look at these rails. One more will do it. One more is all it takes to tie everything right back up.
Oh my lord! Avec survives with almost nothing to his name, yet he gets away. Tox, I mean, he swaps to the machine gun because he knows he just had a little bit more damage. One more shot would have made it 10 to 10. We still have time. We have time for Tox to get this frag, but now with the way that Avec has been able to stabilize, he has time to get at least one more frag to make the life even harder.
Finally getting himself a lightning gun too. Tox so long without an LG to his name, and that is one of his signature weapons, no doubt. So he'll be happy to have it in his arsenal. He's got a big stag advantage as well. Now he just needs to chase down Avec. Not even going to contest. He's perfectly content just trying to do a little bit of chip damage here. Get right there.
There's a small start, but it's allowing Avec to at least push back and take that Mega just to make things even more difficult. Tox hitting some really good rails. I mean, his rail has been on fire for the final couple of minutes here, but he's taking a lot of damage himself. This is a very pivotal final minute.
Oh.
Can he prevent the 3-0? Can he get some points of his own? Looking for the final shot. The rocket looks pretty good. He's got to be careful with the rail. That's why he backs up. If you rail down there, you know Avic's just going to turn around and super shotgun you.
This is so risky from Toxic. Rail will do it, but he is near death himself. Luckily, Mega will help him, and that small bubble too.
You gotta find him. He needs armor too.
Doesn't have much time to work with. We'll find a small armor. Now it's all or nothing. He's gotta find that Stroke. He hears the teleporter being used, trying to guess which way his opponent is going to go. He might have caught a glimpse. He might have caught a glimpse of Avec at Rail. This is it, Toxic. Can you find him? Avec is just going into hiding. Toxic misses him.
Bust him. No.
Oh, no.
Turn around, mate. No. It's game over. It's game over. Avec, you sneaky devil. You've done it. You've done it in the final moment. Oh, the final decision to really put everything. I mean, that was a big risk to hide there, because if he sees you, there's no escape. There's nowhere to go. You're probably going to get a ring out. But it works, and he gets it 10-9.
It's one of those plays where if it pays off, you've won the game, no doubt. If your opponent runs on past, the first time they're never going to go back around to find you again. But if they do see you, if they do have a little bit of a hunch as where you might be hiding, one rocket is all it takes. There's no escaping from that position. So a risky play from Avec in the end, but it gives him a very well-deserved 3-0 victory after doing the exact same to Cooler last week as well.
And just continuing this last-minute burst of momentum that Avec has seemingly just brought out of nowhere in the final stages of Stage 4. You know, he's come a long way in the Quake Pro League. He went from the early stages definitely struggling, I think, quite significantly, to the point where he was almost up for relegation. And just like that now, you know, we've kind of gone into the second half of the program, and now Avec looking like one of the strongest players that exists in the world right now, and absolutely a killer going into Stage 4 finals. You know, we're not finished yet. We're almost there, but a 3-0 to add to the 3-0 collection he seems to be working on at the moment. I think this is a good result, and unfortunate for Tox, because in all three of those maps, Tox didn't exactly get destroyed either. I mean, he really made him work for it. It's just once it started to escape him near the end, all three maps kind of ended the same way.
Yeah, same thing through and through. Toxic starting off in really good shape, trading blows, keeping things score, a tight score line, but then there comes a point where Avec just gets the frag at the right time and he turns it into full control. Toxic perhaps a bit too aggressive on the follow-up. We saw Avec play the out-of-control sign perfectly a few times. Textbook out-of-control plays, focusing just on the small items, leaving everything to your opponent up until you feel comfortable fighting again. But that's just not something we saw from Tox many times at all. He tended to just go back in looking for more damage time and time again, and it cost him dearly. Perfect example of that was that one play I pointed out on Awoken, the final map, where he pushes in with nothing but the rockets and the machine gun, trying to take down Avec, who is sitting on the heavy. Such a risky play. You're getting outstacked, your opponent has a lightning gun, and you've got nothing you can do against that. So a few misplays there, but nevertheless a very well-deserved victory from Avec.
A couple of those maps too were situations where Tox totally could have won. I know that last minute, I know on the Blood Covenant, was just completely unable to chase down the super high octane Athena plays near the end of the map, and then on this map just not able to find him. That final little hiding spot. It's moments like that where it's go big or go home. I think are always great to see in this kind of setting. But yeah, just like that, Avec is going to be able to get that victory on Tox, and he's looking really good, and he's in fantastic shape going into the Stage 4 finals. However, at this stage, we have our next matchup, which is going to be Genic versus Dewey.
Yeah,
that one I think going to be quite an interesting matchup to kind of really see where what kind of shape that Genic will be looking up against Dewey. But on that note, before we played this week, Freya had a chance to catch up with Avec, so we're going to go for a quick break. Week 9, Stage 4, Quake Pro League. Take it away.